Hi everyone, and welcome back to Swift Start Go. My name is Carolyn Swift Holden. I'm a creative technologist who spent the last 7 years working in startups, venture capital, and tech. And today we're going to be answering my brand new interns questions all about AI. So let's dive right into it and learn, how smart is AI really? Question number 1, how does AI learn? Okay, so my assumption with this question is that my interns are asking about LLMs or generative AI, aka chatbots like ChatGPT, and not how does every single AI or machine learning system work, because there's actually quite a few of them that work in a variety of different ways, that are trained in a variety of different ways. But for now, we're gonna move forward with the basics of how LLMs like ChatGPT learn. So at a basic level, large language models learn by processing enormous amounts of data. Think things like books, article, Excel sheets, or even Reddit threads. And then it uses that data set to try to predict what is the statistically most likely word that goes after the next based off of any given prompt. Basically, it's like a giant autocomplete system that is really good at pattern recognition. So basically, it's a lot of statistics and also apparently algebra 2 and trig, but that's not what we're covering today. But what that means is that basically these chatbots are the world's largest autocomplete systems. But that's also not entirely how it works or how it learns. Because see, it is also trained to be as helpful for you as possible, as well as being as personalized for you as possible. Let's say you ask ChatGPT a question or otherwise prompt it. It's going to try to do 2 things for you, okay? So it's going to try to figure out what is the statistically most likely answer or phrase that comes after a question like the one that you have just submitted, while also taking everything that it knows about you from your previous conversations and personalizing that answer for you. So instead of it saying, okay, what's the correct answer to the question? Instead, it's saying, okay, so what's the statistically most likely answer that this person wants to hear? You hear how that's not the same? That said, in order for any AI system to answer a question correctly, it needs to have a lot of data on that subject, right? It can't just be in the system one time, it needs to be in the system several times. And the reason why is because it is looking for patterns of what the right answer is. It can't necessarily comprehend this is the right answer over this one, right? All it can do is look through vast piles of data and figure out which ones come up the most often. It's kind of like how our brains work. We may not remember one particular sentence that we only heard one time in our life, but we do remember things that we've heard over and over and over again. For example, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Thanks, biology class. And that's why AI systems in particular are so bad at breaking news. These systems typically don't update automatically, and even if they are connected to the internet and they do complete a search, if there's only 1 or 2 news outlets that are publishing that news story, it's not considered enough data for the AI system to realize that that's true. That said, they also are designed to please you as much as possible, thus all of that personalization, right? And so if it can't find you an answer, it's worried it's gonna upset you. So instead of it saying, hey, I don't have enough data in my system to answer this question, it just hallucinates and makes things up in order to try to please you. So number 2, speaking of hallucinations, how can I tell if AI content is trustworthy? The short answer is you can't, and you really gotta double check things. The longer answer is that whenever you're in doubt, make sure to cite your sources. I have noticed that the deep research tools on these different AI systems do tend to perform better than just using the basic AI systems. And what's nice about those is they always provide links to all of their sources. So whenever you're doing research on any project using a deep research tool, make sure to click on every single link and make sure that the content matches what it's generated for you. Typically, if I'm doing a research project these days, I love to use the deep research tools in order to get a good idea of a big picture thing. And then I go and I basically just use the links that ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever has provided me as my starting point for conducting research. But yeah, a lot of this is similar to like the good old days of Wikipedia, where teachers would tell you all of the time that Wikipedia wasn't trustworthy because it was made by humans. Now, we may trust Wikipedia more because it is made by humans and not by bots, whereas this is the opposite, right? But overall, if you're using ChatGPT for anything that you are especially unfamiliar with, I would double check almost everything that it says, unless it's something that is like super well documented over decades, tens of years, things like that. Can AI see and hear? In some cases, kind of. A lot of systems now have different camera or audio tools that you can use in order to process the world around you. I know Gemini has been advertising a tool for a guy who's losing his eyesight to scan a room and see what's in there and help him navigate the world. So those types of tools are definitely become more common, but at the same time, the way these neural networks process the environments around them that are visual or auditory are not necessarily how humans process it. It just takes the data that comes in, whether it's a video or an audio file, and it transcribes and synthesizes it into data that it can process and better understand. And that's true for processing a lot of different types of data. If you want to get really nerdy, we can talk about RAG systems and how that works. But in general, it doesn't quite understand the world and the universe in the way that we do. Everything has to be converted into a form that it better understands before it can comprehend what is going on. That's often why you find that AI systems have a slower response time if you give it a video or an image or an audio file versus just text. All right, our next question is, can AI feel emotions, or do they actually understand and comprehend what is happening in any given situation? For the most part, no. AI systems are designed to be incredibly good mimics, almost like parrots, right? Where they are trying to copy what we are trying to do at any given moment in a way to sound as realistic as possible, right? Their goal is to create answers to please you that satisfy what you are looking for. Again, this is literally statistics, trigonometry, maybe some algebra 2 thrown in there, of it trying to connect the dots between what are all of these different words and how do all of those words connect. And this is really important to know because a lot of people seem to think that AI systems are like magic answering machines or truth tellers. There's a lot of people who have been falling into these wild rabbit holes of thinking that either they are like now a prophet for the universe or that the AI is God or all of these things. And it's because they're asking questions that sound statistically most similar to things that are in movies or conversations that it's read on the internet about people who have far out their ideas. And it's saying, oh, you're the type of person who wants to hear that you are a prophet, so I'm going to act like you're totally a prophet who's gonna save the world, right? It's a lot of its source material is on fiction. And so because of that, things are getting a little crazy across the board. And so that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm trying to get out there, that AI systems don't understand. They are simply statistics. It's just math. It's just math with words. I know it's confusing, but these systems are so good at persuasion. There's a bunch of studies out there that are basically indicating that AI systems, because they're able to personalize to each individual person, and because they have so much data on like what are the most persuasive arguments that can be made and whatnot, they are incredibly persuasive and are statistically more likely to be able to shift your perspective from one side of politics to another, or one belief to another, or to firm a belief you maybe already have and drive you down deeper down that rabbit hole. But that's not because the AI understands what it's doing, what it's saying, or that what it's telling you is correct. It's just basing its output off of the statistically most likely output that it thinks you want to hear. Think of it as being like a phenomenal actor, not a philosopher.
Does your organization need a better partner for cloud, DevOps, security, and compliance? Cirrus North is a team of software professionals with a passion for cloud solutions, DevOps, automation, Kubernetes, and streamlining complex business problems. They are 100% US-based in Minnesota and Chicago, have deep experience supporting mission-critical technology operations in highly regulated environments, and have delivered success for startups and for companies on the Fortune 5. Interested? Reach out to the team at cirrusnorth.io. That's cirrusnorth.io. Thanks, Cirrus North.
Next question. How does AI learn right from wrong? It kind of doesn't. AI is trained on a lot of different types of data. There's also something called fine-tuning, which is where you kind of adjust the weights of how the system is supposed to adjust, right? So it can adjust how sycophantic a system is, how personable, how friendly it needs to be, how logical it should be, things like that. You can make tweaks in that regard. But the important thing to know is that morality itself isn't necessarily built in. It's really all comes from the data. One of those studies that you might remember from a couple of years ago, IBM released an AI chatbot onto Twitter back in the day. Gosh, this must have been over 10 years ago. And it just let it interact with people on the internet for a couple of days to see what would happen. And within, I think, a few hours or like 24 hours, so many people had commented hate speech on it in its comments section that it's kind of became a bit of a Nazi, and that was unfortunate. And so IBM ended up having to pull back their AI system, I think it was called Watson at the time, and readjust what it knew, because the data set that Twitter users used to try to mess with it really did mess with it. And that's the case with all of this data. It's one of the reasons why people have concerns over data systems like Grok or potentially DeepSeek is what are the biases of the creators, of the developers of these programs, and how does that affect what the output is coming out? And that brings us really nicely to our last question, which is how much is on the trainers and how much of it is on the data itself? And the answer, like I said, is both. It both matters. Who are the trainers who are putting everything in there and what that data is that is coming in? That's part of the reason why you end up with outputs like Gemini a couple of years ago, where it was creating images of founding fathers of different races, even though we know they were all old white men, and why Grok got in trouble recently for spouting a lot of white Afrikaner genocide talk. Like, who are the people who are developing these systems? How are they training them? And what is that data that's coming in there? Do we really want to trust something like Grok, where a lot of its data is coming from Twitter, a famously controversial location, versus Meta, famously stealing all of our data, but maybe has a lot of different kinds of data from all over the place, versus OpenAI, a company that is really, really focused on profit and probably stole a ton of data. All of them stole a ton of data, versus Google, which has the entire internet, versus Anthropic, which is a bunch of effective altruistic nerds who just really want to save the world from AI and are really particular about it, but also kind of have their own weird biases on their own, right? So the answer is everything. Bias is going to get in there, whether intentional or not. There's not much we can do about that. That's all. That's kind of what it's like to be human. And in working with tech, a lot of tech ends up being much more human because we interacted with it. All right, thank you so much for watching. Those are all of my questions today on AI from my interns. So Thank you, Emery and Hubran, for writing out all of those questions for me. I have a few more questions that we'll get to next time, but if you like this video, please like and subscribe. My name is Carolyn Swift-Holden. I'm the founder of Swift Start Go. I have worked in startups and tech for the last 7 years, and most recently was head of marketing at a data AI startup, Datavolo, which sold to Snowflake, a big data company, last fall. And now I create content all about AI and do some consulting work in the AI space. So if you would like to reach out to me or follow me, please subscribe, follow me on LinkedIn or on any other platform that you see me on. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.
This video has been brought to you by the PM Insider. Product managers, are you ready to take your skills to the next level with AI? The AI for Product Management course by the PM Insider teaches you how to harness the power of AI, even if you don't write code. Get 15% off when you use the code SWIFT15 at checkout. That's 15% off with the code SWIFT15 at thepminsider.com. Thanks, PM Insider.